All right, you found it, your favorite hockey podcast. We call it Wooden Sticks. We are recording from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and we're recording this early in the week. Canterbury Park getting back into the mix this week after a week off, so I'm back from up north and looking forward to getting out to the paddock and being with my guy Paul Allen and seeing the horses. We've got the unicorns and the llamas this weekend, so if you're listening to this late in the week, we still race Saturday and Sunday. Sunday being that family day. Come say hi out in the paddock. Tell me you listen to Wooden Sticks. Got a few fans here in the last couple of weeks connect with me. I'd love to see you and chat a little hockey as we get closer to training camp. We're now late in July, so training camp in September doesn't seem that far away. We're talking about the state fair. Crazy stuff. We're going to have a fun show for you today. We're going to take a little cross-pollination into the program. And Bill Sherck is going to join us. And anyone that has lived in this market knows the impact that Bill has had on the outdoors with Due North and Minnesota Bound, which is celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. A product of Ron Schera, who's the godfather. We'll get into that with Bill on the show. We'll talk about his connection to hockey. And like me, his connection to the Minnesota North Stars. And for all of us of a certain age, it still strikes a chord, and it's still a very painful memory. But we'll get into the Stanley Cup that the North Stars had, well, both of them, but specifically 1991. And then we'll try to see if I can learn a little bit about the outdoors. Being the indoorsman that I am, I know nothing, and I've got very little experience. So I hope to glean some of the great knowledge from Bill Sherck today. And as the shows progress here closer to training camp, we'll start to focus in on what lies ahead. Starting next week, I think we're going to have Mitch Helgerson on from the Minnesota Wild to talk about a couple of things. The schedule just came out. It's a unique schedule with the Olympics this year over in Italy and how that plays out with the Wild. We'll also get into Hockey Day Minnesota. That kind of came to a crescendo as far as the preparation goes this past weekend. And now we know the matchups and some of the intricacies of that great event. And Mitch will have some keen insight on that. And then we'll talk about some training camp talkers to get you ready for, I think, a really impactful month of September for the Minnesota Wild as they get ready for a big season ahead, a pivotal season for this organization. And we're still waiting on the contract situations to develop with Marco Rossi and Kirill Kaprizov. So we'll talk to Mitch about that. But today's going to focus in on a hockey connection with Bill Sherck and the outdoors and kind of how that all ties together here in Minnesota. And I think it'll work for a lot of our listeners because I look at my dear friend, Greg Redroot, who's a regular listener to Wooden Sticks. We went to high school together in Burnsville, and Greg is very skilled and avid outdoorsman. And so we've had conversations about having somebody like Bill on the show and maybe tying some of that in. One of our key sponsors obviously involves outdoor activities. So I think it's going to be a really fun show. I know I'm excited to learn some of these things, and I think Bill will have some really cool stories to share today on the show. Before we get there, though, we got to thank our partners in crime. And we couldn't have a show without these partners here on Wooden Sticks. And we'll start with my dear friend, John Schweitz, and our good people of the Minnesota Masonic Charities. You know, when people think about the Freemasons, they often think about the secret handshakes and those crazy hats. And, of course, they always have those cool pancake breakfasts. But Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the U of M, or the Masonic Children's Hospital, and of course the Masonic Home over in Bloomington. Just a few examples, folks, of the important work that Freemasons support here in Minnesota. They're part of the largest fraternal organization in the world. Masons have consistently answered that call when it comes to charitable needs. I'm so happy that Minnesota Masonic Charities and John Schweitz have chosen our podcast as a place to help spread the word. And I'm looking forward here in the coming weeks to months to continuing that great momentum. Thank you to the Minnesota Masonic Charities. I mentioned we're going to be doing outdoors talk today a little bit, along with hockey, so why not pump up Onyx Fish and Onyx Maps?
The weather is warming up. That means it's time to put your augers away, and it's time to grab the boat. Let Onyx Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. Onyx Fish also shows you hot spots, lake-by-lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download Onyx Fish on the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game.
And don't forget about our friends at Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
We're back with Bill Sherck here on Wooden Sticks next. Welcome back to Wooden Sticks. As always, we are recording today from the Aquarius Home Services studio on location at Talk North headquarters. This is exciting. Anyone who knows me and listens to the show realizes that I am an avid indoorsman. I take great pride in that. I am lost when I get outside of my house and my Barca Lounger, but I'm happy to be joined by a guy I've admired for a long time, and he's an avid outdoorsman, Minnesota bound, due north, all kinds of great outdoor activities, Mr. Bill Sherck. This is going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate you doing it.
How are you? It's great to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm good. You know, summertime is a different vibe for me. I've got 2 different gigs and they mesh together perfectly, which I think it was meant to be, with hockey all winter and horses all summer. And when I get to this point of each season, I miss the other. And so right now I'm really missing hockey, the Stanley Cup in the rearview mirror, and the Wild season. It feels like forever ago, Bill. So yeah, it's a weird time. It's a good time. It's summer, but now we're already counting down the days to the state fair, and we know what happens after that.
I've always wondered, during the season, are you working 7 days a week?
No, listen, there are always forced off days that the team has to have. But if they're doing something, we're normally there, whether it's a practice day or if it's just a meeting day. There's always sound available. And in the world we live in now, even if it's a 15-minute conversation with Coach Hines or if Bill Guerin's available, we want to get that content as quick as we can. Like you, we're trying to continue to have access to the team or to the information that people want with what we do. And so whether it's social media or whether it's actual content we're going to use in our game shows, we want to be there.
I'm just sitting at home in my Barca Lounger, and you're always there. You're always on the TV, and I think, oh my gosh, he's not home for 5 months.
A lot of travel, and people, I've had multiple summer gigs that have involved Canterbury for 25 years, but within that, I did work Twins baseball for 6 or 7 years, and I love ball, and I love being at the ballpark. I grew up going to Met Stadium, but traveling all year compared to now where I get to be home for 3 or 4 months, it's a big difference. And I prefer, as I get older, and I just became a grandpa, these priorities shift and things change. And I really like now that I can be at my home base for a few months. And then the travel season cranks back up. I look forward to it, the cadence of the season, the excitement of the season. I'm certain it's similar to some of the things you do. Everything has a season, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of have a countdown to get ready mentally, physically, whatever it is. And then when it gets there, there's that anticipation. I think if you have a job, and I tell kids this all the time, if you have a job that you really, truly love, that you have passion for, it doesn't really feel like work. It is work. You get tired, you get exhausted, but you look forward to doing it. And I think you live in that same world.
Oh, yeah. Everyone always says, oh, man, you get paid to fish and hunt. No, I get paid to be a journalist and write stories, which takes us to lakes and to, birdie fields, all that stuff. But before we get into that, I do have a gripe with you. I know this is our first podcast, but I kind of need to talk to you about this. Okay. You brought up Canterbury Park.
Yes.
So you probably don't know this about me, but I was a Boy Scout.
Oh, wow.
Okay. An Eagle Scout, which is kind of like the high level stuff. But we used to work with the National Guard, and we used to camp down in Shakopee. And there was this thing called the JLTC, the Junior Leadership Training Corps. And it was sand dunes and pine trees and oak trees and the coolest forest.
Sounds lovely.
And one fall or spring, I don't even remember what it was, we were there, and all of a sudden there were these lights and these announcers.
Uh-oh.
And it was the start of Canterbury Park. Nobody knows this, but before Canterbury was there, before all those buildings were there, that was like deep woods.
I don't think people understand Shakopee. When I grew up, there was nothing there.
It was like dirt roads.
My high school girlfriend was from Shakopee. I spent a lot of time. Dirt roads, country, the stuff you just described. You go there now, and I just had a hockey season where I came back a few months later, and there were 6 new restaurants within 3 blocks of Canterbury. I'm like, what is, now that the 20,000 seat amphitheater is going up, it is insane how that town, to your point, has completely changed.
It probably ages us a little bit, but it's just such a fun memory of being there and remembering when Canterbury started.
Oh, it was
and the
so
lights
exciting
in the evening and just the sound of the track. And
I had never seen a horse race. It was summer after my senior year. So this is 1985. And, you hear about a Kentucky Derby, right? We used to have the Sports Illustrated magazines, what have you. So you knew about the game, but I didn't know a thing about horse racing. My high school buddies and I went out there a month after graduation, and we had the time of our life. We had no idea what we were doing, but we had a ton of fun. And we're like, for me, it was like a life-changing experience. Like, I'm hooked. I want to figure out how you figured this game out. How do you study the past performances, the bloodlines of the racehorses? And 40 years later, it's a labor of a lifetime of love. But at the time, it was just this big, new, beautiful place in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was.
Remember, it came down to Egan and Shakopee. And I remember the headline in the Star Tribune said, Shakopee wins in a photo finish. Like, the vote was like super
That's
close.
Awesome.
Well, think about if fate was different, right? And that land where the Vikings are now, probably a decent chance that's where the racetrack would have been. And, for better or for worse, right? Shakopee's worked out just fine. Valley Fair, there's all kinds of destinations back in the days before Shakopee was this bustling suburbia. But, back then it was Egan and Shakopee. These places were just nothing. And, Eden Prairie was small. And, even Wayzata has clearly become this giant, right? Where you grew up.
Yeah.
Everything changed. Lakeville, where my daughters went to school, was farm country. There was no Lakeville North and Lakeville South. There was one tiny high school. It was a tiny town. And now it's huge.
Yeah. Times change, right?
It's crazy.
The ice rink I grew up in that was larger than life is now the reject rink in Wayzata. It's like, come on, give me a break. If the walls could talk.
So you moved early when you were young in from Canada.
Yep.
Where did the love of being outdoors start for you?
Great question. Probably my dad, probably my grandfather. They grew up in Ohio, but they had a place on the Ottawa River.
Oh, wow. Which you can skate in the winter.
Yes, darn near all year long.
Right.
But there was a little logging town called Fort Collonge, and they'd go up there and fish and bushwhack through the woods and, moose hunt and all that stuff. My grandfather had a float plane. So I flew from Ohio up into Quebec. That was kind of going to the cabin for them. So a lot of my outdoor stuff came from that. But when my family moved from outside Toronto to Minneapolis, they wanted a place in the woods. And in the 1970s, the road trip was Brainerd, Minnesota.
Always.
Gull Lake. So we've been on Gull Lake a long, long time. And that's kind of where it all started.
I was just on Gull Lake this past Sunday. Had a lovely time. It's amazing, that chain of lakes that you can connect with.
Yeah.
We pick up our boat over at Zorba's at your boat club. We hop on the water, we pontoon. Again, being an indoorsman, it's limited how high tech we get, but we're out there and it was beautiful. I love that area.
And you can go all day.
It's awesome. I mean, it's a beautiful area. We stay over in Pequot Lakes. We rented a place there for a month. And I got to tell you, it's good living, down the road. And I'm years and years away from this. When I retire, that's where I probably want to end up. I really love it up there.
Yeah, it's amazing. The golf courses are out of this world. They've priced us, meager folks out a little bit. But the golfing's amazing. The boating's incredible. The fishing is incredible. The restaurants are great. It's, pretty wonderful place to be.
It is. It's a great place to be. So how much time do you spend out in it? Like, when I look at a calendar year, How many months are you, give me your seasons and sort of how they kind of segment together, and how do you put the whole package together at the end of the year?
So I'm going to start by saying, number one, I'm married.
I've been there, done that.
So, obviously that's an important part of the equation. Katie and I have two sons who are 14 and 16.
Oh, you're busy.
Hockey players, soccer players, love to fish, now love to hunt. You've got church, you've got school, driver's ed, all that stuff. So you're juggling all these balls. The point being, I have less time than I used to.
For sure.
Right. And that's okay. That's part of life. Grocery store, somebody will walk up and be insulted because they ask you, like, what's the latest muskie bite? And you go, I don't know. I haven't been muskie fishing for a while. And, but that's life, right?
Exactly.
That being said, we still try to get out a lot. Wife's on business travel right now. The boys and I went down to southeastern Minnesota this weekend because the grasshoppers are hatching and they're falling into the trout streams, and trout love to eat big grasshoppers. So it's just this great annual bite. So, we get away for 2 days.
Sweet.
And we're going to Canada on a work trip this week. And then I come home for 3 days, and then I pick the boys up and we go back to Canada for a shoot on the Canadian train going back into the bush to a lake. So, it's nonstop.
It rolls all year. It's just you're in and out because of what you've got going on.
Absolutely. Hunting season is coming up. We've got a national bird show called The Flush. So we've got bird hunts, obviously deer hunting opener in Minnesota, waterfowl opener is coming. So those are all big seasons. We're always covering stories. So it kind of goes all year long.
Can you separate hunting and fishing? Do you have is it like trying to separate your kids? Which one's your favorite? You can't say that.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Right. Whatever's up next.
I appreciate all of them. And, it's funny because people want to travel to Rome and they want to go see Venice and Prague. And got it. Been there, done that. But there's so many incredible places within, 3 hours of home here. You talk about Pequot.
Oh,
a great town. Right there, parts of Gull Lake that I still don't know as well as I should. I mean, there are just so many great places to explore. And yeah, I love to travel.
It is fun. It is fun to see new things. And I love to get up north. As I mentioned, my outdoor experience is really limited. I've hunted one time in my life when I was in high school. I was a complete and utter failure. And I've, listen, when you live in Minnesota, you're going to fish. I've been out fishing, obviously. And I think that gal from Shakopee I dated, her dad was really into fishing. Took me up to the cabin. I was in high school. I knew nothing about anything.
Yep.
But I did figure out in that week or two up north with him, the spawning beds with the sunnies. And so any idiot can catch fish when you go near a spawning bed. And we had some wonderful, and I love walleye. I love sunny. Like I'm a Minnesota guy, but when it comes to the experience, I learn from people like you. And I think it's really fun to watch, and I'm fascinated with it. It's like watching Kirill Kaprizov work a power play. When you see a professional out there done it, and I've done some of the tournaments in town back with the Twins. They did the charity event and you start at Fletcher's and you work your way out. But I'm fascinated because it's so over the top and out of my reach when it comes to what I do.
Well, I think we probably need to get you out on the water.
Probably do.
There's this guy you work with by the name of Jonas Plum.
Oh, brother.
And Jonas is one of my fishing buddies. In fact, that's why I was just looking at my phone now. He was just calling. He probably wanted in with us. But, he and I are out all the time, and he's always pulling I wish somebody else was fishing with me. Would love to have somebody else. You'd be a great
I drive him insane, which is perfect. I drive him crazy during the season. I might as well hop on a boat with him. That would be great.
So anyhow, the invite is there.
I can't wait. Well, let's talk about the connection to some of the pro athletes in town, because I mentioned that Twins tournament.
Yeah.
And I know there's a long history of you working with some players that have played for the Wild. Give me some of your favorites.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Like, we grew up in this town. Our teams are larger than life, right? You're part of the Wild. It's your job, but it's the Wild, man, right? And I had a good friend working for the team several years ago, and he just kind of called out of the blue and said, hey, I have this guy, he'd like to go fishing. He was real chagrined to ask, like, would you take Nino fishing? I was like,
come on.
Well, yeah, of course. So like Nino and I go fish a couple of times and become buddies.
Such a good dude, by the way.
And then Nino's buddies are in the boat, and then we're standing in the river. Then it's like, hey, Nino's dad's coming from Switzerland for dad's weekend. Would you take his dad fishing? I'm like, sure, no problem. Yeah, well, his dad's got 2 buddies with him. No problem. Well, they don't speak English.
Oh, wow.
No problem. And I've stayed in touch with those guys ever since, so like it's this small community and it's this wonderful group and players, their families. Yeah. I love fishing with them all and hearing their stories and getting to know their backgrounds. And it's amazing.
Nino Niederreiter, one of the real sweethearts that's ever played for the Minnesota Wild. And, we miss him on the media side. I get it. It's a profession. People are going to get traded and moved along. He's up in Winnipeg. He had a great year last year. And if you taught him how to handle the outdoors, I would assume Winnipeg, when it's not the dead of winter and it's miserable, which was when I always see it during the hockey season. But I would bet this time of year it's pretty beautiful and it's got some great spots.
Yeah, absolutely. Trouts, he calls them trouts. Are we going to go fish for trouts? Like, well, smallmouth bass. Yeah, trouts. But I'm sure he's having a blast up there catching big greenbacks on Lake Winnipeg, which are the giant walleyes up there. And we trade a text every once in a blue moon. I'll chirp them when they're in town. Or
of course
something.
You will.
But, they're larger than life. They don't remember me, so to speak. But
I bet they do, actually, because they don't have that opportunity, that window and time to get out very much, right? It feels like it's a year-round. With all these sports, it's year-round, and you live it with your kids. I mean, it's full-time, but when you do have the chance to get out, that's memorable stuff for them, for sure. I keep looking at your coffee cup because I'm still trying to get over the North Stars leaving, and that is a Stanley Cup coffee cup from 1991. It's got the cup logo on one side, the North Star logo on the other side. So that one hits home for me. Any connections for you to the North Stars back in the day with outdoors?
Wales Conference versus the Campbell Conference.
By the way, good days.
Yeah, that was a terrible series.
Well, it hurt because
it's brutal.
The North Stars had that thing in their hip pocket. Up 2-1, I'm at the Met Center for Game 4. And Neil Broughton, I've had a chance to get to know him over the years, had one of those nightmare games where he had 3 or 4 chip-ins, like rebounds in front of the open net, and Barrasso robbed him. He hit a pipe. He whiffed on one. Well, it was a 1-goal hockey game that they lost, and that kind of flipped the series. I look back at that, and then I'll never forget the clinching game with 3 of my buddies. We're in the building. It's 8-0 Pittsburgh after 2 periods, and they want to leave. And I said, no. I said, I'm not leaving. It might be the only chance in my life to see the cup up close and personal. It sucked to see the Penguins celebrate on our ice, but I had to see the cup.
By the way, this mug just came home with me, believe it or not, from Canada.
Come on.
It was in a fishing shack way out in the middle of the bush, and I kind of went, should I take it? Should I leave it?
100% you should take it.
So actually, there's an abandoned trapper's cabin nearby. So we went and pillaged that, and I grabbed 2 coffee mugs out of that thing, took them back, cleaned the mouse poop out of them, put them in the cupboard, and brought the North Stars mug home.
That thing is so cool. And when you go into any meeting here at Talk North, you're going to be the only guy with that mug, and that says something.
Yep. So it's funny. Yeah. The North Stars, we have this love for that team, right? Larger than life, lots of stories. But my dad was part of a controlled data group, and they had season tickets. And so I'd get to go every once in a while to a weeknight game with my dad. And I would sit down in the seats, and there was this guy in front of us. And I'm like, I know him. I can't talk to him, but I know him. Little guy, didn't have hair on top of his head. You probably knew him for his mustache and his little black bow tie.
Oh, Mean Gene.
Mean Gene Okerlund had the tickets in front of us.
Unbelievable.
So you'd sit at the game, and he'd always have somebody with him. We had a meeting a few years ago with the Gagnes. And I looked at Mr. Gagne. I'm like, you don't know me, but I know the back of your head. And he's like, that's a weird. And then I explained it to him, and he kind of laughed about it because.
So true.
Gene would always bring one of these
The wrestlers.
guys who we'd watch on television to the games. So here I am watching the North Stars. I'm seeing all these wrestlers. Yeah, just amazing memories, right?
And me and Gene lived in Burnsville. So I went to high school with his two sons. They both were older than me. And, the Okerlund boys were big rug, of course, the opposite of him, like big strapping guys.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Okerlund in 1983 became the first player that went to Burnsville that ended up getting a Division I scholarship, went and played for the Golden Gophers. Tor Okerlund was an 84 grad. I was an 85 grad. But I'll never forget seeing Mean Gene at the rink, right? Because I grew up like a lot of kids on the weekends watching All-Star Wrestling and seeing him and the shtick in between all the events. I mean, he would sit there with two guys that are like clawing back and forth, trying to get at each other. It was hilarious, and he was a rock star. And when he walked into the rink, I'm like, oh my God, that's Mean Gene.
Right.
So cool. And you sat right there with him.
Night after night after night. And then, the best part was after the game, right? Al Shaver would be on with the Hot Stove League. You'd be stuck in that parking lot for an hour.
Couldn't get out of there.
I'm going to school. I'm in 8th grade.
Right.
I'm staying up late. It's going to be way past 10. And just
the greatest.
The best memories.
Well, they had a pizza garden in that rink. They had a beer garden and a pizza garden at each kitty corner behind the net. And it was an unbelievable building. Like, it had all the little things, the details that were way ahead of its time. It had a restaurant, the Blue Line Club. It had all these different things, but it was the first rink in the NHL to actually have a full-blown restaurant. And so every year on my birthday, that was my birthday gift for my mom and dad. My dad would take me to a game. We got to go to the restaurant, have a dinner overlooking the rink. It was, clearly the best night of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you drive over by Mall of America these days, and if you're of a certain age, you look at that spot and that property and you miss that Met Center. It was an awesome building.
I still see it. I can still hear it.
Always.
I can still smell it.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you know how much secondhand smoke you and I got going to North Stars games?
People don't realize it. There was smoke everywhere in there. It looked like one of those Scooby-Doo movies where you could take the knife and just cut it out.
There was just this line, this haze, and it was just amazing.
Think about this. We used to be able, when we were growing up, you could smoke on an airplane and in a movie theater. Yep. Now, that's preposterous today, right? Yep. It's a different world we live in. Yep. So the Met Center was filled with cigar smoke, cigarette smoke. It was an amazing place. It was just an awesome time. And I'll never forget watching the video. I think Channel 9 had the live coverage the day the Met went down.
That was awful.
It was, honestly, I had tears in my eyes. And I was a Phi Ed teacher over in North St. Paul, and we stopped to watch it. And I had tears in my eyes, and the kids were laughing. I'm like, you have no idea.
That was awful.
It was a horrible deal. I saw my first concert at the Met Center, 1983, Bryan Adams and Journey. That building had such a part of my youth locked into it, and then it was just gone. And then for us, we didn't even have hockey for 7-8 years here, which is just hard to think about.
Yeah. Malash.
Oh, my
Gordy
guy.
Roberts.
Yep. Dino.
All those guys. Just kind of epic.
It's sad but true. So with some of the charity stuff, the tournaments you've done, any of the old North Stars get involved that are still in town? Because a lot of them still live here.
Yeah, a few of those guys. Who's been real nice over the years? Paul Broughton.
Oh, yeah, the Broughtons are great.
Oh, my gosh.
Awesome.
Good golfers and, just wonderful. Paul always threatens, hey, will you take me fishing? And
oh, that's so cool. Are they good? Are athletes we'll use hockey players since this is a hockey show. Are they able to adapt and figure out the outdoor thing? Because again, I think a lot of these guys, I think of Ryan Hartman, he's the one guy on the team right now where I would think he could come on your show and he would rock it. Yeah. But most of these guys, it's foreign to them.
It depends who it is, right? Good friend Keith Ballard.
Oh, yeah.
He grew up in a fish camp. And,
good call.
He's my topwater bass buddy. Yeah, he gets fishing better than most. Buff, right? He skipped camp.
Big Buff. He said that.
Skipped camp in Winnipeg because he had a bass tournament. So there's a lot of passion in there.
I think it's great. So how much hockey did you play growing up?
A lot, but a lot doesn't always translate to.
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Amazing, right? It started on the pond as a kid.
Oh.
And again, I was a Boy Scout. So the challenge was balancing hockey with being a scout and trying to travel and camp, socially, those two are like, but I was good enough that it was kind of cool. Like, yeah, it's all right. By the time I got to high school, I decided soccer was where I wanted to do my thing, and it might be a college thing. And I did. I ended up playing soccer in college, but I look back and I really missed hockey. I was a junior goal guy. Playing Minnetonka and, all those great games. But then I fell in love with hockey again after college.
Oh, yeah.
And played some of the best hockey in my life post-college, right? Like in 90, must have been, let's see. So I worked through Green Bay. I went through Duluth. I was in Madison for a few years. And then I got this weird phone call. Somebody wanted to give me a job in North Carolina.
Whoa.
And they were starting this new network, this thing called Fox News. I was like, yeah, that's cool. I don't know where Greensboro is. What's Greensboro? Yeah, I'll go there. So I end up in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is a long way from home.
Yes, it is.
Totally different world. Thank goodness one of like 6 ice arenas in North Carolina was a block from my house. So I go over there for just an open skate. And a couple of guys were like, hey, where are you from? Like, why don't you, we got a little team in Winston-Salem. Why don't you come try out for the Eagles? And I went, tried out and made the team, and suddenly was traveling the East Coast with guys just pillaging on these weekends.
I can only imagine. It's like softball, right? Like the beers are flowing. You're having a great time.
Yeah, it's around here, there's a team, Bucks Unpainted Furniture.
I remember that vividly. Team. Yeah.
So it's the same league the Bucks was in.
It's good hockey, by the way.
We were the Winston-Salem Eagles. It was a bunch of retired ECHL guys and a few pros. I mean, I got to play in an all-star game against the Roanoke team from the 70s, and it was all the guys who were in Slapshot, the Hammer Schultz.
Yes.
In fact, here we go. So post-game, we're in the locker room, and all these guys are drinking Budweisers and their jocks, and they're all smoking cigarettes. And, the moms are bringing kids in for autographs, and I borrow Hammer's Sharpie to sign a stick.
Oh, cool.
And I give him a Sharpie back, and the tip is kind of worn on the Sharpie.
Oh.
And he pops the top, and he looks at that thing. He throws the pen against the wall. He whips over the tape table. I remember this lady ducking out, grabbing her kid. He's throwing stuff. The guy from Slapshot who always would smile and he had no teeth?
No teeth whatsoever.
I kind of forget his name, but he hands me a fresh Sharpie, and I hand it to Hammer. He clicks the top off. He goes, "That's my Sharpie." And then he winks at me and walks away.
No kidding.
So, like, just great hockey memories.
Right.
I
think it's funny, but I played some men's league hockey after college, and I wrapped up at St. Thomas in 1990. So this was the early 90s. And I remember vividly how good the hockey was, and I think you can speak to that.
Yeah.
But every team, there was one guy that was crazy that took it just a little too far, right?
Oh, yeah.
Took it a little too serious. Like, dude, let's ramp it down a notch. I mean, we all had the gear on, but a lot of guys didn't wear shoulder pads. You know how it is. It was late at night. We had a great time with it. We'd travel around, play all over the place, but every team had one guy that maybe he didn't get enough of it out of his system when he played when he was younger. And it would ruin it for the rest because that one guy was out there running people. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And we had a guy on our team. So they would end up invariably squaring off at some point.
What was his nickname?
It wasn't the Hammer. I know that. He wasn't quite to that level. Might have been Numbnuts. I don't know. He was not very bright, and we ended up shorthanded the whole time. And being the goalie, like, it's bad enough I'm getting breakaways and 2-on-0s the whole time. Let's not be down 5-on-3 the entire third period when I'm already gassed. And it's funny. I played for 3 or 4 years. And then finally I'm like, no, this is too much. Like you're not practicing, right? It's like my golf game now. If you stop practicing and stop really working on your game, you're eventually really going to suck. And then it's not going to be fun. And with hockey, it got to the point where I couldn't stop a beach ball. And I'm like, I'm out.
I loved it. I mean, we were traveling. We were down in Fayetteville and Charleston and all the way up into Pennsylvania, Roanoke, Richmond. It's funny, I've got a newspaper clipping. It's like, it's a shot of me on the ice, and it's like Pierre Paquette squares off against unnamed player.
They always talk about those unnamed players in those trades.
Oh my gosh. But it was just so great. We had a Frenchman, who worked public works in Winston-Salem, and he made moonshine.
No way.
So we'd show up at the rink, and he would always have 2 jars, and he'd put blueberries in one jar and peaches in the other jar. Rink would fill up with people. We'd go play the games. After you'd hang out forever, pretty soon everyone's gone, parking lot's empty, and the team would be outside. And he'd pull out these 2 jars, and the fruit would disintegrate. And then we just kind of pass those jars around in the parking lot.
No kidding.
So many great memories. Billy, we had this guy, the center from Montreal. He had hands. And he had falsies. He had fake teeth.
Of course.
And so there was a chain of hotels on the East Coast called the Patrick O. Henry, and they were really high-end, old-school hotels, and we'd always stay there. And the deal was Billy would always soak his falsies at night in the glasses at the Patrick Henry Hotel with gin and tonic.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so one of my D partners, Ike, who had this affliction for Budweiser, he would always come in. Billy would be passed out, and Ike would do his thing in the glass.
Oh no. Oh no.
So every day Billy would get up and put his falsies in. Just amazing memories.
Throwbacks. So when you're out doing your thing, and I think of I've seen setups with some of the fish houses in the winter.
Yep.
It's amazing
Cabins
to me.
On ice.
It's crazy how nice they get. I've got these brothers called the Allwelling brothers. They own horses all over North America. They've raced at Canterbury, and I follow them on X. And so I get their little screenshots on social media of their setup. And they've got multiple TVs. They're watching the Wild on one TV. They're watching horse racing on another. They've got a griddle going, and they're cooking. Yep. How is this possible on the middle of a frozen lake? How do they do it?
Yeah. So remember that thing called COVID?
Oh, I do, unfortunately. Yeah.
These companies could not make ice houses fast enough.
Of course.
And everyone needed something to do. So ice fishing really exploded.
Of course.
And these high-end houses, they market them, hey, you've got an ice house during the winter, during the summer, you put it on the back of your car or your truck and pull it off to the state park, and you've got a cabin.
Of course, like one of those tiny houses almost, right?
Exactly, same deal. So that's why those permanent houses took off, and they've always been a thing. Back in the old days, there used to be the ice house parade up north and wherever, Aiken or wherever it is, but they're just really fancy. Now they take a lot of work.
Right.
And we've got a busy schedule. I don't have the time to put one out and winch it down and generators, all that. But
you got a pretty good sized generator to run that thing, right?
It's just amazing the amount of resources people put into those things. And they are cushy. Sherck boys love, they hate ice fishing with me because they're out on a bucket, out in the wind. But
doing it the right way.
But their buddy from school calls and they go out to Lake Minnetonka and, oh my gosh, there are 3 beds and they've got cushy seats and all the TVs and we hook up the Nintendo and yeah.
And there's heat in there?
Of course, yeah. There's a furnace. So you've got AC during the summer and heat during the winter.
Oh, come on.
Some of them have little, fireplaces like you have in your condo, and yeah, it's outrageous. Sinks, bathrooms, some of the big ones have showers. It's an RV for fishing.
So COVID did have a big imprint on the game, right? Like it brought
huge,
because
massive.
Remember when that whole sports were shut down?
Yep.
We I think we forget sometimes for how long we had nothing. And I remember horse racing was one of the first games that got going, but to the outdoors angle, you could distance yourself. You're out there doing your own thing, right? And so that had to be, for people of a certain age, a real fork in the road where it maybe led more people into your game.
Tons. You were locked in the bubble.
I was in the bubble.
But I was out fishing and hunting. In Minnesota, they saw record sales for licenses. The boat companies couldn't build boats fast enough. Gear companies couldn't keep up. It was an amazing time.
And it was almost a full year where this was an explosion that just sustained itself.
Yeah, the Sherck boys. So they shut us down. What was it? March when everything initially shut down. School's done. Sherck boys set up a tent back out on our property. We've got a little prairie project. They were out for 177 nights.
Oh my.
So all spring until it got too warm during the summer. They spent the summer inside. In the fall, they go back to school. School happens for a couple of weeks, and then they shut it back down. So they put the tent back up, and they're out there all the way till Christmas. It was amazing.
Unbelievable. God, that's so cool. And I think it's great, though, because we saw numbers increase on the horse racing side because we were the only game going for a while. It was cool to bring new eyeballs to the game. And if it's a game you love, like with the passion you have for being outdoors, to bring new people to the game, especially young people.
Yeah.
That has to be, I think, very satisfying and maybe a silver lining of having to go through an awful time in our world, but there are always cool stories that come out of it.
You talk about the anglers at the time. It was funny. There was a lot of chirping going on because the boat launches, the public launches were overwhelmed with vehicles and people were parked all kittywampus, and the regulars would be like, that's not a regular. They don't know what they're doing. And you'd be out on the water and somebody in a boat would, not be following the rules or doing something kind of silly. And a lot of people were foul about that, but I saw it a little differently. I saw that as a whole new population of people who are finally getting outside and trying that. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome. So if somebody came in from another country, maybe it's one of Nino Niederreiter's long lost relatives that doesn't speak great English. And,
sick.
And they wanted to know all about Ron Sherck. And for all of us that grew up in Minnesota, like, this guy is legendary.
Yeah.
There's a Mount Rushmore of going outside. He probably starts the conversation. How would you explain Ron Sherck to somebody from Switzerland or parts unknown that doesn't know Ron?
He's a quandary. He's larger than life, right? So growing up, he was the outdoor guy. He was the newspaper writer. And even when I was a young adult, like, he started popping up on television. And all of a sudden, he was the Minnesota Bound guy, right? People know him. He's the grandfather of Minnesota's outdoor scene.
I kind of look at him like I look at Lou Nanne with hockey.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear the voice, not even see him, as soon as you hear the voice, you associate him with being the godfather or grandfather of that game. That, for outdoors, for Ron, for Lou, it's hockey. It takes one sentence on the radio, and I'm like, there he is.
You just
Same
know.
thing. And that, to me, that says something about the impact that he has had and the job that he has done growing your game. Like, that's incredible.
So this year, Minnesota Bound, the television show, celebrates 30 years.
Congrats. That's awesome.
We're old. But we're doing a special, and one of the stories is on the theme song of Minnesota Bound. And Dale Menton was the guy who did the original song. I'm looking around here. They took it down. They must be using it for the story, but we have the sheet music
from the song.
Framed. But that song is iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you go, people know that song. And so the story reflects just what a part of even the dang music to the TV show is iconic. And so it's just been really special to be a little small part of this company and, to work underneath Ron for a while and have him teach me. And yeah, it's been something else.
Well, think of shows on TV in 30 years, like the impact that these shows have. I mean, Seinfeld still to this day has a huge impact.
Right.
They were on the air for less than a decade.
Right.
I mean, you don't find a lot of shows on any TV that last 30 years. That speaks to the credibility of the show and the impact of the show that it's still going.
Yeah. Oprah, Cheers are a few
they don't last.
that outlasted us, but those are all big network shows. So,
yeah, a little different. Yeah, it's pretty cool that has that type of lasting impact. And I also think it speaks to where we live and the people demand it here. Like, this is part of our culture. Like, this is who we are. I'm abnormal. I'll admit the fact that I don't hunt and fish. I've got a text chain with all my high school buddies. I'm the only one. Like, literally, I'm the only one that's the avid indoorsman. So I'm making fun of myself by saying this, but I am still fascinated with what you guys do. So now we're going to get to the final segment here, Bill. It's the Hat Trick Hot Seat. These are questions where our listeners get a chance to kind of get to know you at a little different level.
Ooh.
And so they're kind of a lot of the same questions with the guests as we go throughout the months of doing the show. I gave you my first concert. I gave you the venue and the shows, who I was going to see. I want to hear your first concert. Where was it? Who'd you go see?
So we spent 2 years in California from 79 to 81 or 78 to 80, something like that.
It's a good genre right here for music.
Stray Cats.
Oh, hell yes.
Palo Alto.
Oh, Stanford.
It was actually my sister's concert, but I may or may not have tagged along in some capacity. Other than that,
Rumble in Brighton tonight. Is that one of theirs?
Yeah.
Well,
one of the originals.
Stray Cat Strut obviously is iconic.
The first solo concert for me probably was the Beach Boys.
Oh, wow.
At the Minnesota State Fair.
Oh, my gosh. My dad's all-time favorite band. He used to always go to the fair and watch them. They put on a heck of a show. They just knew how to perform. I mean, that they were built for that type of venue.
And the only concert I remember is AC/DC from the Met.
Oh, wow. There you go. Met Stadium again.
There was a big fight in the parking
Met
lot.
Center, yes.
Met Center.
Yes. Oh, Angus Young, are you kidding me? All right. All-time favorite movie. You're going to sit down tonight. You're going to pop the popcorn. You're going to put on your all-time favorite movie. Which one is it? I know it's hard to limit it to one, but.
All right. For weird reasons. Ever heard of Hamburger Hill?
I've heard of it. It's a military movie, right?
It's a military movie, and when Dolby Surround came out, and that was the thing. That was one of the first movies that we watched where helicopters were flying behind you and dogs are barking over there and the action scene. So maybe Hamburger Hill.
Oh, that's cool. What a unique
random,
pick.
I know.
I love that. All right, final one, and then we're going to get back to your roots here. Your favorite spot to be outdoors doing your thing. It could be a lake, could be a cabin, could be just a city. If you're going to go to your very favorite spot, take the boys, have a little family time, where is it?
So this time of year, great question. This time of year, we set the alarm at Gull Lake for 4:50 a.m.
Oof.
And Brady and I get up and we go out to a little spot before sunrise, and we topwater fish.
Okay, help me out here.
So baits that are on top,
that float on the water.
Yep. Very visual. The fish come up and pound them. It's not like, do I have a fish? It's,
you can see it happen.
It's boom. It's an explosion on top. And so, yeah, we watch the sun come up. There's nobody else on the lake.
Which is, again, Gull during the day, it gets busy. But at that time, you got it to yourself.
Nobody. It's our lake. It's our place. We're the only ones on planet Earth. And it's us and the fish. And it's, us together. And Keith Ballard, has shared in that for years too. So yeah, that's a pretty special spot.
What a great answer. And this has been great fun. So we'll have to do it again. I know we didn't cover nearly the amount of land that I wanted to cover on the show. But Bill, thank you for doing this today.
Of course. I appreciate it. I do have one question for you.
Okay.
What was the first hockey stick you ever had?
It was a Northland. It was heavier than you could ever imagine. Literally, if you taped 3 or 4 goalie sticks together today, it would not come close to how heavy the Northland was. I saw Tony Esposito. I was a left-hander, right? Tony Esposito was a lefty. He had this old school Northland stick. I had to have it. Age 7 or 8, I started with it, and that was the stick for me at a young age. That was the way I went, and I still have one of my Northland sticks at my parents' house in storage, and I'm telling you, those suckers are so heavy. What a different game it was. I'm sure the equipment's changed on your end too. The technology has obviously helped things get to where we are today, but it takes me back.
Yeah.
Great question.
Every year at Christmas, Santa brought me a new Northland.
Oh, man, those were good.
But it was a cheap one, I think, because the Northlands that had painted logos on them were the high-end sticks. The ones that had the foil stickers, I think, were made the low end. I always got the foil sticks.
And you go out and the thing would fall off. The sticker would come off in cold weather. Yeah, no question. That's Bill Sherck, guys. This is Wooden Sticks. I'll be back to put a bow on the show next. Oh, that was a lot of fun. And it sounds like in our conversations post-script that I'm going to get the chance to head out on a boat very soon and learn from the best. And I think Jonas Plum, who I believe is a fairly regular listener to the show, video coach extraordinaire for your Minnesota Wild, is going to be a part of that production. And I am super excited because maybe I won't catch a fish, but I might drive Jonas Plum crazy enough where he just jumps off in the middle of Lake Minnetonka, and we maybe never see him again till training camp. Who knows? But Jonas runs a little hot, and I tend to press those buttons, and boy, do I love to press those buttons. So we'll see if we make that happen. But Bill was awesome and really fun to connect with him today. And that North Stars mug, he better keep a close eye on that here over at the Talk North headquarters, because if he leaves it and it's not within his sight, it might walk out the door with me, because I still, to this day, it's been 30 plus years since the North Stars left town. It still hurts to even think about it. So that coffee cup would be a nice addition to my place over in Minnetonka, but I digress. Thanks for listening today. And again, anytime you want to have any impact on the show, or maybe some guests that you'd like to have join us, just ping me on X at Gorgomatic21. And again, you can ping me too if you've got some family or friends that might be good sponsors and partners with us here on the show. Always at the Talk North podcast platform, you can find not only this show, but so many great shows that involve indoors, outdoors, sports of all kind. Check us out, especially if you enjoy this one. I think you're going to have a body of work there that'll set you up for a great, great summer ahead. We've still got a couple of good months of decent weather here before we bunker in for that hockey season. I'm Kevin Gorg. This has been Wooden Sticks. We're back next week with Mitch Helgerson from the Minnesota Wild.